Today we're at the National Museum of the Republic of Kazakhstan. It's down in Independence Square in Nur Sultan city. Okay, so we're just approaching the front gates where I see they have a beautiful sculpture with a waterfall. So this is the entire structure from the outside, very close to the front. And we're going to take a look on the inside very quickly and check out this beautiful museum. Souvenirs, anyone? Oh yeah. This is called a fairy tale, made in 2013. So all these bronze sculptures out in the front area, which is a bit of an art show, are all relatively recent. Okay, so now we're going to enter the Hall of Ancient and Medieval History. That's our first stop. A lot of old stone tools here. Neolithic. It doesn't really give a year, but it says 10,000, 12,000 years ago, they figure. So you can see the stone arrowheads here. These are all bone carvings from the 3rd to 4th millennia BC. 6,000-year-old bone carving. This is a re-representation of what's called a Botaya dwelling. They found these types of homes buried in northern Kazakhstan. They say people were living like this about 4,000 BC in that area. So this is a reconstruction model, they're saying, of what these mounds were looking like when they found them. And all these artifacts and some old houses and structures were buried underneath. See the little van in the lower right-hand corner? That's to give you a scale, an idea of the size of these mounds that they found that look kind of like somebody intentionally buried a lot of these facilities. There were old houses or structures with buried items inside. Similar ideas in Turkey, in eastern Turkey, where they found a lot of buried, I don't know, they want to call them temples, but buried structures that look like they were intentionally buried for some reason. But to bury something to that large of a scale, well, that's interesting. Why would you do that, number one? And secondly, how would you do it? These are clay panels that were actually removed from what they called the Kalan settlement. Characteristic of the cities along the Great Silk Road area. The Kalan settlement was an important center along one of the routes on the Great Silk Road. And then over here is some weaponry. Stone arrowheads, bronze arrowheads, bone arrowheads from around the 10th century BC, they're saying. Tools, swords, spearheads. And here's an exhibit which is a representation of the women's clothing from the Bronze Age. It says anywhere from the 17th to 9th century BC. Now that's something. That's a silver gilding casting, they're saying, from the 4th century BC. It's a depiction of Bellerophon and the Chimera, it says. So basically, it's a horse with wings. Looks like it's attacking a lion or something. And the fellow that's on the horse has a very weird headdress and face. Very interesting indeed. Now that's more interesting to me. Old weaponry from the Sarmatians, it says, from around the 4th to 3rd century BC. Fragments of a stone statue of a Sarmatian warrior, 4th or 2nd century BC. Okay. Yes, the warriors had a very flat face. So this is a brief discussion of the military affairs of the Uluk Ulus. It says in the history and the formation of the Eurasian nomadic empire, Ulus Yoki military affairs played a special role. It says the policy pursued in the first half of the 13th century allowed the Uluk Ulus to take a dominant position in the foreign policy arena of Europe, Central Asia, and the Middle East, which became possible due to efficient and highly organized armed forces with a clear military structural organization. And then it goes on and shows us a few artifacts here. So this is the flag of the state of Uluk Ulus from around the 15th century or 14th century. It's not opened up for us, but that's what it looks like. So is that Genghis Khan? These are all original Khan manuscripts in the Khan language, which does look Arabic to me. There is a translation of what they think it says. The label from the Khan of the Golden Horde, dated May 20th, 1393, in which he informed the Polish king Vladislav II Jagiel about the victory over the rebels and demanded tribute due to him from the lands subject to the king. Similarly, these other transcripts are from the kingdom of Khan, and they're telling everybody to obey the king of Khan or die, is basically what the translation is here. They say it's around 1500 AD. Definitely Arabic. Now, according to this, in the 13th, 14th centuries, Uluk Ulus was the largest state. Now, you can see the original language is in what we would consider to be modern day Arabic, but it's also considered to be the state of Mongolia, of what we would, I guess, call it in the West, the state of Khan. And it talks about the different alphabets. It says in the 11th, 13th centuries, the Turkic language was subdivided into 3 groups. So it makes a direct connection between Turkic languages, Arabic languages, and the Uluk Ulus from the 13th to 14th century. And also, down below here, it's going to show us some old manuscripts from the old Uluk Ulus Empire, they call it. But it's in Arabic. Like, this is a book of the grammar of the Arabic language from 11th to 13th century. This is the Quran in the original Arabic language, I assume. Now, I don't know if the book is that old. It'd be hard for me to believe it is, but it might be. And this is the tafsir of the Quran. So that's interesting, because in the West, we don't generally acknowledge that the literature and science of the Uluk Ulus is also Turkic, which is also Islamic, which is, I guess, the origin of the Arabic language. I mean, I'm stretching things here, but it seems to me that's the case. So we have the Mongolian Empire, which is in this area, 12th to 15th century, they're saying, with Khan, which we would call, again, the Mongolian Empire. And we've got the Arabic language, Turkic languages, the Quran, and ancient manuscripts. And it talks about the world travelers. Now, again, the West called these folks the Golden Horde. I'm not sure what that means, but it says in the 13th century, ambassadors, travelers, and missionaries and merchants came to this area, or who they call the Golden Horde, and other Mongol Ulusus to establish political relations. And it gives a list of a bunch of people from Europe, including Marco Polo. That's interesting. Marco Polo. It says Marco Polo, the traveler himself, traveled to the Mongol Empire together with his father and uncle. In his book, The Marvels of the World, he wrote about this journey. Very interesting. So they have an old traditional home tent set up here that you can go inside and have a look. Wow. Okay. Oh, yeah. Wow. It's got ancient weapons, saddles. Wow, swords, shields, instruments. Oh, sleeping areas. This is a look around the roof. Look at the beautiful wood cabinets. Oh my. Incredible. That is beautiful woodwork. Look at that. Wow. Whatever happened to the artists? Oh, butter churn. Look at that. Okay. That is pretty wild. Neat. Oh.
It's a traditional Kazakh home. It's called yurt. It's like it's surrounding Kazakh arts. We are telling that a kilem, and you can see it has continued to nowadays. We are using this kind of parts of art.
So this is the Hall of Gold, which I had to go back outside and pay another ticket to get into. It's not clear, but you have to pay for each individual exhibit that you want to see in the museum. You pay a general entrance fee, and then you can walk around the inside front. But then you have to pay more money to go to the other exhibits. They don't really tell you that. So, anyway, this is the Hall of Gold. This is the entranceway. Looks like a disco. Wow. So, what are we getting into here? I have no idea. Okay. I suppose I'm going this way. Okay, now we're entering the really juicy part of this museum. It's the Golden Man representation. There's a whole bunch of artifacts they found at the Issyk burial ground. Specifically in 1969 and 1970, the Golden Man was found in the result of an archaeological excavation in the Ishik burial ground near Almaty city in southeast Kazakhstan under the leadership of an archaeologist named Kamal Akishev. It's considered the masterpiece of jewelry art of the Scythian Saka animal style, they say. Golden decorations of the Golden Man dated back to the 4th to 3rd centuries BC, it's believed. The reconstruction of the Golden Man was made in the 1980s, and there are more than 4,000 golden plates counted on his clothing produced in animal style. And they were manufactured in different metalworking techniques such as casting, forging, stamping, embossing, engraving, granging, pressing, and carving. They're high in artistic and original performance of jewelry in the art of antiquity. Sakha tribes inhabited the territory of Central Asia and Kazakhstan in the 8th to 4th century BC. In ancient Persian Ahmedids, Cuneial sources was written about three big groups of the Sakha tribes. They're called the Sakha Tigrahada, which means those wearing pointed headdresses. There's the Sakha Haumowarga, making a drink home, it apparently translates to. And then the third group was the Sakha Taya Paradadaya, which means living beyond the lake. Now, this is just one representation of the Golden Man exhibits. It's probably, of course, the best one in the world. It's right in the National Museum in Kazakhstan. But there's also a Golden Man representation in the Military Museum here. And there's dozens of Golden Man representations at various museums around the world that have been donated by the Kazakhstan art folks, so that other people can see this stuff. There's apparently a lot of mounds that were found all around Kazakhstan that had a lot of gold in them, but the specific Issyk burial ground ones contained what appears to be gold clothing artifacts of somebody that was a very chieftain, so to speak, or king or something. And I think that's why this specific find is so significant. I don't think it was disturbed until they found it in 1969, 1970. So it was probably there for like 2,500 years untouched.